The initial question was, why does the South have such influence in Republican national conventions in the late 19th century and early 20th century?
Presidential candidates figure out, so in the late 19th century, that they can use the South. What you can do if you're a presidential hopeful is you can go to the South, you can go talk to these local party leaders, and essentially you can try to bribe them. When we went into the paper, writing it originally, when we went into the book even, there was this sort of sense that the South probably wasn't that important to national Republican leaders. And one of the things we find is that it's really important to these national leaders throughout this time period. If we can get a sense of the racial divisions of these state delegations across each convention in this period, then we can use that as a metric to see essentially which side, the black and tans or the lily whites, are winning or losing across time.
Prior to disenfranchisement, there was a negative relationship between Republican presidential vote and a change in the whiteness index lagged. After disenfranchisement, there was a positive relationship. Our work suggests that the connections between whiteness and republicanism go back much deeper in the past. This whitening of the party, we argue, was a necessary condition for the Republican Party to become competitive and then ultimately dominant in Southern elections in the second half of the 20th century.
The big question about the South is sort of how close was it ever to a democracy after Reconstruction? What you describe as the Republican Party, what you see as the Democratic Party, both of them seem to have the elite that are suppressing the Republican inclinations of an electorate.
I think what I found is something I didn't expect to find, which is that there's kind of a rich set of politics that's occurring within the South that is not necessarily affecting local or state politics, but it is a form of politics and is a form of political organization that is important and should be noted and possibly has implications for later on. What are African-American politicians like Perry Howard getting out of this?
Seeing it all from the perspective of Republicans, which, especially after 1900 is not the perspective that Southern politics typically gets told from, really kind of brought a different perspective to even familiar events.
What you've done here, I think, is really important, and that some work is done, but not a lot of work is done, is kind of shift the focus to really explain to us how race has been used for a very long time by both parties as a tool for parties and particularly whites to maintain power.